Good afternoon. I had prepared an hour and a half.
Oh, no, you didn't. You can get it there because I was telling you.
I heard about this particular forum 2 days ago when I was at the ATM machine and Reverend Stone and I started chatting. And here I am. I had no idea what I was supposed to say or what this was about. Well, I talk loud enough that I don't think I need it, but
Oh, I like it.
I'm pleased to be here. I have been living in the area for quite some time, but have not been able to get involved in anything. I've been wondering, what's going on in the community, what people are doing, and I've been very excited about some of the things that I've heard here this morning relative to what you people are involved in, what's going on. And, I see how I get out. My background experience has been in agency management, and economic development and business development.
Right, that's what we need.
I'm the former director of the Silicon Valley and Central Coast Small Business Development Center. I'm presently, and those agencies provided technical assistance and training to small, existing, and emerging businesses. Small business being defined as any business that makes $6 million or less a year. Now I'm the president of the Northern California Financial Development Corporation, which is a state-funded organization that makes loan guarantees to small and minority businesses in the 11 Bay Area counties. So I'm very pleased to be here today, and I was invited to come by the Stones. I thought I was going to be invited maybe 2 or 3 months down the road. And I'm so pleased to hear what everybody has been involved in. About 17 years ago, I was a panelist on environmental restoration and concern, people who were having environmental concerns about where they were. It was a national convention. I was one of the panelists talking about small business development and how it related to environmental justice. And I see that even now, 17 years later, some of the same problems we face.
Same thing.
And at that particular conference, there were about 300 people there. They represented every state and territory in the United States, all talking about some of the same problems we've been talking about here today. Now, how I see my background and experience relating to some of the things that you've been talking to. I started my career fresh out of college, and it's another good reason for me to be here today. I met a man here, Frank, who played football at the University of Iowa, the same place I played football at. Now, that never happened. That never happened. So I'm really pleased to be here for that reason, if nothing else. But more importantly, to have the opportunity to tell you that I started out as a prison guard, so I can relate to some of the issues relative to getting ex-offenders back into the workforce, into productive kinds of activities and jobs. I've been an agency director for workforce and economic development. And I also have been personnel director for an airline, as well as now being an adjunct professor at several other colleges that are doing, helping people with business startup, entrepreneurship training, and the like. So I look forward to getting involved with each one of the organizations that has had some interface here today to see how I can bring some resources, whether they be financial resources, resources of training, resources of experience that will help each one of these agencies grow. And what I would like to say is that we obviously need to be talking more to people from the community that are committed to making things happen. Right now we're making speeches to, well, sing it to the choir, so to speak. And we know that there's a lot of other individuals in the community that want to get involved. They should be getting on planning commissions. They should be getting on economic development commissions. And we need to show them how to do that. And I think that in subsequent workshops, probably those will be some of the issues that are spoken about. Anything that I can do to help please don't hesitate to call me. I have given out a few cards already. But I think that this is a great opportunity for all of us to do some networking and make some significant strides in making things happen positively for this community. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nazarenes, Ms. Emmett, please come forward.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing after lunch? It's always that, oh, time for a nap. So I gotta wake you up. My name is Nazarene Emmett, and I work for Monterey County Health Department, and I am a health educator. It's one of the things that I do. So I'm gonna have a little, we're gonna learn something about ourselves today in the first part of this. And you're gonna say, how does this relate to the environment? Ah, but it does. Dan is going around giving everyone a piece of paper. And I'm gonna say some things, and I want you to write down what comes to your mind. Do you have your paper? Okay. All right. The first question is, or what you're going to answer is, write down your favorite color. Write down your favorite color. Yes, anybody has need a pen? This lovely lady here has available pens. Thank you, Karen. The second one is write down 3 adjectives that describe the color. 3 adjectives. The third thing is write down your favorite animal. Your favorite animal. Number 4, write down 3 adjectives that describe you. The 5th thing is write down a type of body of water. And type, like an ocean, a river, a lake, your favorite type. And the last one is write down 3 adjectives that describe the body of water.
Body of what?
Water. 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 H2O. Let's. Thank you, Wes. Okay, now results.
Can you repeat the
Yeah, results. The color that they wrote down, that you wrote down, describes how you see yourself. How you see yourself. No, color. Write down your favorite color. So that's how you see yourself. Number 2, the animal that you wrote down describes how others see you. Okay. body of water that you wrote down describes how you see your relationships. Ooh. And their view, or your view of sex.
I think that's the first word everybody heard.
Yes, ma'am.
It wasn't us.
Sure. You are the third body of water. The third one.
The way you describe water is the way you, the third body of water.
Okay, okay. When you pick your, let's say pick the first. Mine was falls. When water, like at Niagara Falls, I love that. So then I have to do the description of that, yes. Waterfalls. I'm a blessed woman. So, wasn't that fun? Some things you got to experience about yourself that you never thought of. Right? And then, that's right, it's unique. Dan, actually, you come up and open up my yellow bag. Now we're going to segue into something else. And I'm going to have you show it just a little bit, please. You're going to open up. Okay, there you go. That's perfect. I'm going to put this up here. Dan's opening this yellow bag for me. And just right there. Okay, now, I'm going to ask you some questions. We're just going to have a little talk here. But it's actually on sugar. Sugar. Remember, I'm a health educator, so I'm going to talk about sugar today. Okay, who in here drinks sodas? Anybody in here drink sodas? Okay. How many people drink one soda a day? How many people drink 2 sodas a day? Okay, this is pretty good.
I like milk.
Okay, do sodas have sugar?
A little bit. High fructose.
A lot of sugar. I like that. How many vitamins are in sodas? How many vitamins? 0. Okay, this is great. I really like this. How many nutrients are in sodas? Okay, so in a 12-ounce can, I brought my prop. This is any soda, by the way, not 12 ounces. Okay, in 12 ounces of soda, it actually contains 11 teaspoons of sugar. 11. And if we convert that to grams, it's 3 grams of sugar. Now, if you drank 2 12-ounce sodas every day for 30 days, for 1 month, you would drink 720 ounces, which is, right here, 5.6 gallons of soda every month. And that's what this represents. I brought this so you could see. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Here it is, right here. Okay? Now, then, that 720 ounces of soda is 8,400 calories a month. Right here. And the reason I'm talking about this is because when in the 60s, when you went to a fast food restaurant, you got a soda about this big. Now, a soda is this big. Okay? Sugar is not our friend. Sugar is not our friend. I see a lot of this, and this is such a big topic, but it's important that I express it and I talk about it, because that's what I do. But now, all the unused calories turn to fat. Now, open it. And I'll show you, this is how much sugar's in there. That's a 5-pound bag that you drink every month.
And that's a one soda a day?
Two
Two
sodas. Actually, most people tell me, because when I hold up this, like if they go to a 7-Eleven, they get a bigger soda than most of the times we just don't drink one of these. They get more. Or let's say you go to a restaurant where you can refill. You can refill. You know, you really drink more than this. So I'll leave my can out there. I'll put my 5-pound bag of sugar back in here. And you said, how does this relate to the environment? Well, how it relates, people throw these everywhere. People throw the plastic everywhere. What does that do to our environment? Destroys it. Thank you.
Chokes out wildlife?
What'd you say, Wes?
Chokes out wildlife?
There you go. There you go. The damage that the plastic bottle does, the aluminum, destroys. That is one good thing for our environment. So I kind of took you guys around the mountain to get to how this affects the environment. But in the meantime, I also wanted you to know what sugar does for your body. And by the way, cancer loves sugar. Can I talk about that? Just very, I'm going to say it again. Cancer loves sugar. So, I think that's about as plain as I can put it. So, if you're having sugar, and no more sugar, and then one more thing I'm going to tell you about sugar. You know, marketing, I used to do marketing for AT&T. And they teach you how to market, and they are good at it. So you can imagine what the companies do. Okay? So some hidden names. Corn syrup, dry cane syrup, sorghum, high corn fructose, agave, dextrose, fructose, sorbitol. All of those, they are the same as sugar. But you know, the marketing has disguised them. So read your labels and find out how much sugar are in basic foods, because it's there. And as a nation, unfortunately, with all the packaged foods, ready-to-eat foods that we have nowadays, it's killing us. It's killing us. So I'm just here to share a little bit with you today. Just a little bit. So anyway, I want to thank you for allowing me to come and share a little bit with you, and for you to explore how wonderful you are with your bodies of water, your favorite animal, and your favorite color. Thank you.
So that was really good, huh? Interesting. Say, when she said the whale, I mean, it's an animal, and then put 3 adjectives describes an animal, and that would be how people see you, right? So, for example, Maya wrote down a whale. 3 words were majestic, powerful, and intelligent. But I don't think.
It's like when you're looking for your glasses.
Well, yeah, and then in the end, I see that I am intelligent because I don't drink soda. That's where I'm Okay, next we have Mr. Martinez here.
Thank you.
My name's Juan Martinez. I usually carry my little case with me, just to have a little show and tell, because I see people walking in with laptops and everything else, bags. I say, well, I got one too. And I had a bunch of stuff I did want to talk to you, and I'm proud and happy that a lot of you guys showed up and you're still here today. I'm from Gonzales, California, born and raised. Family, my dad was born there in 1905. Went to the cemetery, and the only gravesite we could find is still there. It's from 1840, and which means their parents were there from before, you know. And when my grandma would talk to my dad, where they were born, they said Old Mexico, and it's really the Salinas Valley. So yeah, so we go back a long ways here. So Bush, these other guys, Republican guys, would go and say we should need to go back. He said, yeah, I agree. I don't argue with that one at all. All right, these are campaign signs, and I'm gonna hold this one upside down on purpose. All right, because I'm not campaigning for this guy and anybody else that you might see these signs with names on. We're talking about environment, and my presentation here today is talking about my, I guess, modest effort to try to help with recycling and keep the stuff out of the mouths of the fish and, you know, out of the environment, to keep it from ending up in the sewers and the landfills. Well, a lot of people tend to agree with me, right? So we talked to Leon Pineda and Silva Pineda. They agreed. They said we could drop their name in public sites like this, but they can't endorse it because they're with the Institute and they're a 501c3. All right, when we talked to the folks at the Solid Waste Authority, Ms. Warner, Susan Warner there, she loves the idea. She can hardly wait till she jumps on board and helps us out. And she's going to help collect all these signs. Elected officials up and down the county, everybody I talked to, homeless people, rich people, middle class people, the losers and winners of candidates all support this concept. And it's what we've done with these is turn them into sustainable homeless shelters. And now, these are the small signs. We all see small signs everywhere. And you see small signs all over the highways, you see them on empty parking lots and stuff, and sooner or later, win or lose, these campaigns got to go, or these signs got to go, because either the candidates term out, like Bill Manning and Alejo and all these candidates that we know, they got signs, and what do we do? Well, my friend Wes White calls me up and says, hey Juan, hey, I got this guy who got a bunch of signs, and do you need them? It's got some poles too. And I go, yeah, the poles, okay, the signs, yeah, let's go get them. So I went down to get them because I used a few to use them for a windbreak along my fence, because the wind will go through the fence. So I put them up against the fence, and the wind will go through, right? It doesn't weigh anything. So it's not weighing down the fence. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And I'm a cancer survivor. So during the time of my recovery, I was laying around the hospital, and I was hearing about the El Nino coming around and the damage and potential damage, etc. So I'm thinking about, God, this is not good. So I got all my stuff sitting around the house, and I'm over here laying in bed, and things are going to get ugly, and I got to get out there soon. So when I got out there, I got this call from Wes. I said, yeah, I'll go cover my stuff. So I got a bunch of signs, started covering my stuff, and I had these visions of you know, we probably all done it when we were little kids. We used to get blankets and get our chairs around the living room and make little tunnels and stuff and play around and make little caves and little houses and things. Well, I started looking at these images with this material. And I started saying, man, if I had a few more, I could put a dog in one of these, right? I could put a cat in one of these. I could put a human body in one of these. To make it big enough, I could put a couple of human bodies in it. So I just brought this sample just to show what we can do. Okay, if I may have some space here, please. This This one in particular says bottom, just to give me a quick, so I'm not fumbling so much with it. Mi casa es su casa. Okay, now imagine these being 8 feet by 4 feet. 8 feet by 4 feet. The size of that panel right here. That white panel. 8 feet by 4 feet. That's your bottom. Those are your walls. And you get the fourth one. It takes four. The fourth one makes the back wall, which stabilizes it, locks it in. And then the other half, you cut it in half and you make your doors. The clips here, I left them here on purpose. Just so you can see that these are also camping. Everything here is camping material. And why it's important right now? Because we're having one of the biggest and the most historic elections in the history of the world. So a lot of people are going to participate. There's going to be a big effort to get people out to vote. And then there's going to be a lot of throwaway. So we need to get ready to collect this stuff. So how do we collect it? Do I go to all empty lots? I go to people's houses? Heck no, there's people everywhere. So Ms. Warner says, hey, you know what? That's a great idea. When I put that on her table, she said, oh my God. And I go, that's right, God sent me here to show you this. And so what we did, she agreed to park a space next to the grass, the grass, you know, the trees, just for that. And she's going to tell everybody in all the dump sites throughout Monterey County under their umbrella, solid waste authority, bring them over, we're going to park them. So now, instead of a candidate having to go dump it and be charged $20, $35 a truck, they can actually say, hey, I want a $200 donation credit, right? So they're bringing it in as a donation. So that's encouraging people. So now we're going to need volunteers to make calls to all of these candidates. Hey, bring your stuff, help us with this sustainable homeless shelter project. And we decided that we could do this in Ground Zero. We call this Ground Zero. Ground Zero is Monterey County, San Benito, and Santa Cruz counties. And why here? Because there's more environmental folks nested in one area than other places. And because it encompasses 3 counties. Now it's really great. We talked to the university, a number of deans. Everybody we've talked to so far has says, great, great. Even Leon Pineda first laughed at first when I told him I was working on a homeless shelter. And he was busy. He had some people on the side. He saw me. He came out and said hi. And Silver was pulling me to the side. And as Silver pulled me to the side, he says, "Why? What are you going to do? Make shelters with them?" And he said it with a big smile on his face. He didn't know what I was going to do. So Wes and I, we documented one of these, or we filmed it, and how it's made, put together. And I showed it to Sylvia because I didn't want to get into a lengthy conversation like we're doing now. But I didn't want to just, Sylvia, look, here's my I'll show my cell phone. Here it is. Then we'll talk. She looked at it and, wow. So we're talking Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, Kiwanis clubs, anybody's club, Menchas, whatever we want to call it, throughout the United States, right? Now, think about it. All this stuff, the tarps, blue, gray, brown tarps, they all fall apart. Where's all the stuff go? It's flushed out, right? And water always finds the path of least resistance. Where does it go? Ends up in the ocean. And we all know there's islands floating around out there, and fish are coming in with stuff in their bellies and things like that. So it's not being poured in the Ground Zero. It's not being poured out here in our what's the term for it? It just became a sanctuary. In the sanctuary out here. The entire from San Francisco down this way is a sanctuary. You know, so it's all being poured through the sanctuary. So the Packards and all these people I know would just love to say, I want a piece of that action. What's it going to cost? It doesn't cost you anything, but we need to pay people to give them a part-time job, do something. Somebody start coordinating, somebody start making calls. Hey, let's get some of this money, right? So people would, I think, would want to be a part of that. Now, in terms of youth groups and organizations, it's a real humanitarian perspective at it as well. What can kids... Everybody's all frustrated. What can we do with the homeless? We could feed them. We could offer them shelter. So we could offer them, yeah, but you got to go over there. You got to go over here. So why not have them make their own shelters, have them maintain their shelters, and have them coordinated so that we can start communities with them in a sense so that it's a seasonal thing. It's not a home. These are not homes. This is just to keep the wind off you and keep the water off you. These will be sealed with duct tape. And we have, bigger ones, but you won't want me to bring that here. But we got the bigger ones, and now, if there's a family or you got more space, here's what you can do, for example. You get 2 of these, that'd be 8 pieces. This one now becomes the wall. This becomes the roof. And you get the other ones and you put them over here like this. And it's the same thing. Now you just tie them together. And you tape them. Now, for the weight, so it doesn't get blown out, but you're going to have your beds and all your personal stuff inside. And pallets to keep you off so that weighs it down. You're inside, your stuff's in there. And you can even cut little windows out of them. And
You said you're inside, not yours.
so we have 10 prototypes. During my recovery, I needed to keep my energy up, and I was taking some great medicine, by the way, and CBDs and other things. So it kept me motivated and creative. I created 10 prototypes. I got them where you can create a chain of them. You create them back to back. You can make them like a triplex, triplex. I mean, it's endless. And I know more of you guys got better ideas than I do. This was just under my influence at the time. And but I think it's a great idea. But believe me, these are going to be available throughout the entire nation. And when I told Sylvia about it, she smiled and said, "Yeah, it'd be great to keep our." And I said, "Sylvia, we could do the entire West Coast. If we could do the entire West Coast, we can do the East Coast. We can do the West Coast. We can do the South Coast. And if we could do our coastlines, guess what? Should Japan have another earthquake, and they need 1 million of these, we get the Red Cross to put them all together and ship them over there. It doesn't cost anything. They're lightweight. And just drop them off in a helicopter. Boom. And they're easy to make. There's no big deal. You just get one sample and it's done. So you don't need any really language. It's just a cardboard box. You got little designs, shows you how to, and people can figure them out. I mean, the homeless people are smarter than we are sometimes. You see what they do out there, it's incredible. So they'll be painted. You can have peace signs, you can have other stuff on there. So you can be clever with your color. People can. Now, the idea is how do you coordinate them? So the coordinating will be, let's say, I'll pick on somebody here called Dorothy's Kitchen. Right? We all know Dorothy's Kitchen, most of it. All right. If we give Dorothy's Kitchen 100 of them, and then somebody else 100 and somebody else 100. Now they assign them to those people that they know are always there, right? And where are those people going to take them? Out to the creek somewhere? No, we want those people away from the creeks, bring them into an organized community where they have security, they'll have lighting, they'll have all this other stuff brought in. Why? Because the corporations are all going to see that this is a good thing. And they're all going to want to put money into that account so we can buy solar panels, so we can light up the homes for free, right? And we can keep them warm because it'll be putting out energy. So you got little heaters inside of these things if you want, for free. So these are the things that we could do with folks like us coming together, like Wes and I did, and we kept talking to a few people, the idea kept growing. And so God bless you guys. Thank you very much.
A little of hope.
Si se puede.
Sí se puede.
Hey, thank you, that was great. Yeah. It was once again, California is an innovation. Okay, next we have one of our fine citizens, Mr. Lloyd. Wait a minute. Please welcome Mr. Lloyd Humes.
I have to join the ATM gentleman with my invitation, but at least I got it written in And I don't have access to our emails, but I got the long mail. I got it a couple of days ago. Anyway, I have nothing to contribute other than my physical being, the mental, physical, and spiritual aspect of this. Sylvia and I were brought together by the Holy Spirit. Yvonne. I'm thinking about Sylvia Yvonne with the Coral, because her and I met on the Holy Spirit too. But anyway, that's what brought us together, because we have a like kind, something that in common that involves everyone, and we all operate on a spiritual basis. When the gentleman Dan opened with his reading of Genesis and the verses out of the Bible's my favorite book. When I was in jury duty, they said, "Bring your favorite book." And people looked at and they go, "What is that?" I go, "That's a Bible. It's my favorite book." Just like I read it every day. The gentleman that I hear get up here, the nice mayor of Marina, it's a wonderful thing to have eloquent words and get up and speak at all these nice things that politicians can do, because they're well versed in their verbiage. But you know, every answer to our problems are in the Bible. The Bible has every direction that we need, and we've gotten so far away from it, and that's the reason why our world is in the shape that it's in right now. People complain. I don't watch news. I try not to. You go to church, you hear it from the pulpit. So I just wait till I go to church, and then I hear, the latest news. I don't want the name of the people that got shot down in some other place. I'm worried about my brother or sister that are right here in my community. These are the people that are close to me that I love. Well, during the winter time, I was telling the lady here, I had a passion in my heart, and I went into the Elks Lodge because I heard that women that had children that were homeless we're going to have a meeting there, and I was going to find out more about what we could do to help the women with children that are living underneath the bridge. Went to the Elks Lodge. I was a day early, but the guy on his iPhone didn't even know that the same meeting was the next night in the same building. He was looking on his iPhone, the Elks Lodge. So I called the county supervisors, and I told them, what can we do here? I live on a ranch. I have chickens going around. The Lord's blessed me with a lot of good things. And I want to help these homeless women with children. And during the course of the conversations over the days that followed that, I guess they Googled it or whatever, looked on it to find out, my AP number and all that, the assessor's parcel number. And the lady calls me, tells me, she must have been a secretary for the supervisor. Well, your property isn't zoned to accommodate homeless people. I thought, are we talking about a zoning there or need? It's like, what has zoning got to do with people that are in need of something? And that's been my response. But all I can say is, these people that are in government, that are trying to be leaders of our country, all you have to do is open your Bible. First thing, charity is love. So love your brother as yourself. This is the greatest commandment I can give you. And if we live on those principles, we're going to take and help each other. And it isn't about a monetary need. Jesus didn't send the disciples out with money. He told them, don't take anything. Wherever you go, they're going to feel your need there. And if they don't, just brush off the dust off your feet, and I'll take care of it later. It's all about love and taking care of your brother and your neighbor. Or a person that's alongside the road when you're driving home. If their car's broken down, stop and help them. Take a couple minutes and help somebody else out and see if the fruit doesn't grow.
Amen.
Okay, we're winding down here. I have a couple more panels left. I'd like to call up Janet. Yeah, if I say your name correct, it's not Malika, it's Malika. Please come forward.
Yes.
Okay, let's welcome Janet here. Janet is a homeless advocate from Salinas.
director of the Salinas Homeless Coalition, besides the second media person and helper to Mr. Westone of the Monterey County Homeless Union Board. I'm also a border brat, military brat. My dad's been here, he retired here, he did his service here by helping the community with the children here in Fort Ord by teaching them to play instruments and stuff, besides he was also involved with the Watsonville Band. I've been here in Salinas for 45 years. 3 years ago, I was homeless because of a legal action that involved me and my daughter. And for 2 years, that's when the Salinas Homeless Coalition started. And I've been busy going to meetings, talking to people, finding out where the homeless is staying at since we've had so many sweeps. I've been involved in the sweep. In fact, before I became the executive director, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning when we had a sweeps, fix the chocolate, fix the pastry, fix the coffee, and walked outside for 3 hours. And I stayed walking when all the sweeps were going on in the past, and I made sure everybody got help and answered everybody's question. I am homeless, but with my help, I have a friend that told me, you know what, with your health and your age and the coldness of the weather, I want you to come and stay with me and go ahead and do what you need to do. So I'm also waiting for going to court for my SSI because I had to reissue it, reimburse it, because I was denied 3 times. And everybody says, you don't have no medical problem. I do have medical problem. I just don't show it because I don't let it stop me. That's like an obstacle, and I don't let it go. I have 5 kids and 1 granddaughter, and they hated to see me on Soledad Street. And they found out I'm no longer on Soledad Street. They are happy that I am safe. And as for the lady with the Coke here, since I was a kid, yes, I've been drinking 1 to 2 cans of Coke. Just recently, I was worried about cancer, so I had it checked out. And I found out if I waited any longer, yes, I would definitely have cancer. What I had done is a colonoscopy. I had 3 objects inside of me. They got rid of them. They used 1 for a biopsy. And from now on, I am 6 months going over to, every 6 months I gotta go in to make sure I don't have it. And I found out it was hereditary, so I had to reach my brother, and it took me 3 weeks to get a hold of him here in Monterey. And I begged him. He says, why should I do it? I said, well, 1, your wife is in remission for cancer. 2, I almost have the cancer. 3, it's hereditary. And we can't ask our parents, because our parents are both dead. So I said, please, have your kids, when they're a certain age, to get checked. I'm asking my kids to get checked when they're at the same age as I am. I'm 56 years old, 58 years old, and I don't even feel like it. Because I'm keeping busy. And that's the thing. I keep busy from the beginning of being homeless. I don't sit around Soledad Street or the library or the church. I went to the meeting, and in fact, it was just a year ago I ran into Mrs. LaVon Stone at the Monterey Board of Supervisors meeting. And since then, we became networking buddies in partnership. In fact, the Monterey County Homeless Board and my company organization is co-anchoring this, but it's mainly she's doing it. And I will be having one this year in Salinas. I don't know the location yet. I've had several offers of going to see some sites to hold one. So everybody here is invited to come to that one too. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jan, for sharing that with us, okay? Next, I'd like to welcome up Ms. Vasquez from the Florida Environment Justice
I hope she
Network.
don't feel like she's last, but she's my administrative, yes, right hand, who said that?
I met Pastor Stone and Evangelist Stone. I actually met Evangelist Stone first, then Pastor Stone, but I met her back in 2012. I had lost my house in Phoenix and had relocated back and was going back and forth up until 2013, trying to fight for my home in foreclosure. But during the time that we moved back, my mother had moved on to Fort Ord, and my son started developing strange rashes, and no one could tell me what was going on with him. And I met Evangelist Stone, and I found out that that was actually very common living in Fort Ord. So that's how we met, and I've been volunteering with them ever since. And pretty much whatever she needs me to do, if it's in my capacity, I try to do it. My presentation today is actually close to my heart. It's the importance of cultural education in, well, I should say culture and education for Black children. I am half Latino. So this actually would apply for Latino children too. But we have, on my Latino side, we have a lot of organizations fighting for our children, and currently on the Black side of my family, there aren't a lot of organizations. People will say NAACP or Urban League, but they fight for all minorities. We really don't have a Black think tank or a Black organization actually fighting for Black issues. So there was a handout given to you. This was originally an assignment for school. My major is in communications, but my minor is in Africana, African American studies. And so this was something I expanded on just for this forum. But the title of it is Kasarian Kasarian in Guerra, which according to the Maasai tribe, that is their greeting, and it means, or translates to, are the children well, or how are the children? And the reason why is because they value the children, they value the next generation. One of the things I have here is that basically it's referring to, are all the children well? Not some of the children, but are all the children well? For the Maasai society cannot be well unless the children are well, and that really applies to any society. As James Baldwin had put it, for these are all our children, we will profit, buy, or pay for whatever they become. And so, asking the question, are the children well? Again, this issue is particularly in regards to Black children here in Monterey County. And the reason why it's so important to me is because I grew up here in Monterey County, and in the 12 years that I was here, I did not learn anything about my culture. I knew the beginning of the I Have a Dream speech. I knew Malcolm X by name, but other than that, I knew nothing about my ancestry, nothing at all. In the 12 years I was educated here, I had one African American teacher, female, for 3 months, and that was due to a promotion where I skipped a grade. Other than that, all of my instructors were either, well, majority white female or white males. But in asking the question, are the children well? Currently, in regards to Black children in California, they represent 14% of the population. 66% of them, as I believe is 2014 for this study, 66% of them graduate high school on time, 30% do not, 30% live in poverty, 50% actually live in low poverty areas, only 37% live in two-parent homes, only 14% live in homes that are headed, by someone without a high school diploma. Only 17% of fourth graders score at or above proficient reading levels, and that statistic is very important because prison companies that build private prisons actually go off of that stat. They will predict for the next 10 years based on the fourth grade reading scores. So if they have a certain percentage in a state where they're scoring low, then they know how many prisons they have to build 10 years later. Only 14% of 8th graders scored or above proficient in math. In the state of California for special education, For the information I was able to find, our children represent 8.9%, but that's only because only 17 counties actually reported the information. So I couldn't find the information on the other counties. But I've actually heard that when it comes to black children in special education in the state of California, even though we're actually considered the second population group, or the third population group, they actually represent somewhere between 20 and 25%. And we're only 14% of the general population for the state of California, so that's a high number. In regards to incarceration, they did a study in 1960 and 2010 for inmates per 100,000 residents of the United States. In 1960, black men represented 1,313, black women represented 76, so that's 76 out of 100,000 residents. In 2010, that went up to 4,347 for black men and 260 for black women. In regards to unemployment, some of the numbers are not reporting. Our children between the ages of 16 and 19 have an unemployment rate of actually 30%, so that's a lot higher than the, I think, 8 or 9% they keep reporting in regards to African Americans. In regards to the household, for a median white household, their wealth holdings are 100,011, 146. For a black household, it's only 7,113. So it's a great big difference for that. In regards to home ownership, 73% white home ownership, 45% black home ownership. So to answer the question, are the children well? I would say no. Again, speaking in regards to the teaching demographics, black males represent less than 2% of the nation's teachers, and that's according to a study by the U.S. Department of Education. They said based on that, what they're finding is that black males are less likely to take on teaching as a career, likely due in part to never encountering a teacher who looks like them in front of the classroom. Currently, let's see, in public schools, currently white teachers represent, and this is nationwide, 83%, black teachers represent 6%, Hispanic 7%, Asian Pacific Islander 2%, Native American 1%, and then those that listed 2 or more races, 1%. The student demographic in some areas are predominantly Hispanic or predominantly African American, and yet African American teachers, regardless, represent female is it's like 4-point-something%, and then males are almost 2%, but they round it up to 2%. One of the things that kind of hurt me recently, seeing it on Facebook, and then also talking to some students from my high school that I graduated from here, Seaside High, was the fact that, again, they're not learning about who they are. And so reading a Facebook post, which I included in the handout, it's by a girl named Kiki. I won't say the last part of her name. She refers to Nicki Minaj, who's a female rapper. And she says, Nicki Minaj started her own businesses while Martin Luther King couldn't stay out of prison. How can you compare a queen to a criminal? This is a black child speaking about one of our greatest ancestors. She goes on to say Nicki Minaj is more iconic than Martin Luther King because she has more Twitter followers and is on the Forbes list. She then says that she feels that Nicki Minaj has done more for black people than Martin Luther King ever could because she has her own clothing line. Again, the children are not well. Now, putting a pin in that, the reason for this is, again, culture to be included in education. Culture defined as a vast structure of behaviors, attitudes, values, habits, beliefs, customs, rituals, language, and ceremonies peculiar to a particular group of people that provides them with a general design for living and patterns for interpreting reality. That was actually from Dr. Wade Nobles. According to the African American Psychology Association, basically people's indigenous culture anchors them to reality and is the starting point for all learning. Let's see here, where did that one go? Yes, according to Dr. George Grew, belief is a powerful thing. They color everything with which we come into contact with, determine what we perceive and how we evaluate, determine what we consider unlikely and what we consider possible, shape our memories, expectations, and strongly influence how we think. So again, referring to culture, going back to the teaching, if a black child never sees a black teacher in front of the classroom, they're most likely not going to teach themselves when they become an adult. And we have a habit of blaming children, but a lot of the things that happen in the classroom are actually cultural misunderstandings, and it's not being addressed. We do need to have more Black teachers in the classroom, especially in predominantly Black areas, for that understanding. Education is a state right granted to our children, and one of the things that when people ask me in regards to how I'm educating my child and what's going on with me, and why I'm homeschooling him, I've actually searched out African American or African centered curriculum. And when people ask me why I do this, I have a list of questions. I say, these are questions that should be asked to all school districts that have any children of color. In regards to the culture, depending upon what culture that child is, so in reference to Black children, what are Black children being taught about their culture in American schools? About African American or Africans' place in contributions to world history, about their place in contributions to American history. We just had either a congressman or representative or something, a Stephen King, that said that Black people or people of color have never done anything for the world or globally. And I believe he said that at the RNC, at the National Republican Campaign, or whatever that is. And so he literally said, he was like, to him, Black, he said, people of color have never done anything. They have no valuable history or something. So again, what are the schools teaching our children of color? The other question I asked is, what are Black children taught about their culture in American media? There is a attack on, especially when it comes to Black males, there's an attack on the Black male image in American media. You put a child in front of a television for even just a couple of hours, they're going to see some negative image of a Black man, whether he's being arrested, whether he's playing a gangster on television, whether he's playing someone homeless on television. And the only ones that are glorified are going to be the entertainers with their pants hanging down around their hips, or the basketball players. But other than that, they don't see any positive images. We don't talk about the inventors we've had in our culture. We don't talk about the PhDs we have. We don't talk about the astronauts. We don't talk about any of that. It's always just rappers, entertainers, and then the negative side. And then the last thing is, which is important in regards to the African American psyche of our children, is how is this information received by the child affect its psyche? Questions that, of course, our school district doesn't care to ask. The reason why cultural education is important, though cultural domination in the guise of articulation and assimilation has been the modus operandi for American education and curriculum development, when African and African American cultural education is implemented, it situates irreparably on the stage of humanity and reaffirms our meaning as Africans and African Americans as humans. Culture is the core and fundamental quality of human beingness and becoming. By infusing African and African American content into the curricula, our schools would reaffirm the inalienable right of African American people to exist as people, to contribute to forward-flowing process of human civilization as contributors and not debtors, as we are always seen in the media, to share with as well as shape the world's reality in response to our own energy and spirit. This is important because education is one of the most direct means people have of elevating their self-esteem and self-respect, eliciting respect from others, and diminishing their vulnerability to shame and humiliation. That came from a prison study by a man by the name of James Gilligan, who basically studied prisoners, and he found out most violent prisoners have two things that basically, regardless of the crime they commit, two things that push them into doing that, and that's humiliation and it was humiliation and basically a low self-esteem. And part of it he found was most of them couldn't read, though a lot of them he found were brilliant in other areas, but he said most of them couldn't read, and most of them came from poor economic backgrounds. So again, there are ways to implement African American culture into the curriculum, even though Monterey County hasn't been doing that, but there are ways. In regards to mathematics, you can speak about the role of African civilizations in mathematics, the importance of African theology and music, African mathematical games, the roles of African Muslims, one in particular, Abu Kamil, who basically was considered the father of algebra. which, our children are never taught. Then also too, in regards to language arts, the context of Black art, to note works of African American art that are personal expressions of collective reality and not just for the sake of art. The historical development of Black art to demonstrate unbroken continuity in African art from the ancient Kemet to modern Black America. And then the function, continuity in African art, the importance of symbolism, meaning and innate knowledge and connection between the invisible and the visible depicted art forms. The same can be done in regards to science, because there was science and technology that actually existed in the Nile Valley. There were wheels way before 1492. Actually, prior to the Moors entering Europe in 711, they had the wheel, they had iron, so we studied metallurgy. There were things that, our kids are not being taught. Prior to 711 also, there were Africans present in the Americas, which our kids are not taught. We're taught that we came here as slaves, that, we were made slaves, and God doesn't make slaves, He makes man, and then immature men make slaves. So when we came here to the Americas, there were some here before the ships, but the ones that came on the ships did not come here as slaves. They came here as kidnapped chiefs, blacksmiths, farmers, handmaidens, etc. So they came here kidnapped as people and were turned into slaves. And we still suffer the effects of that today. And the last part here, looking at African American history, this was a quote I found from Hillard. It said, "There is something wrong with a psychology and a psychological analysis that leaves African descent people strangers to themselves, alien to their culture, oblivious to their condition, and inhuman to their oppressors." So, in closing, the intent of cultural curricula for African American children should be grounded in the intellectual and philosophical foundation upon which we create scientific criterion for authenticating African reality, stimulate our ongoing conquest for our own indigenous historical and cultural anchor, reinforce a quality of thought and practice which is rooted in the cultural image and interests of African people. The curriculum should simultaneously reaffirm the right of African people to exist as people, contribute to the forward-flowing process of human civilization and culture, and to share with, as well as shape the response to our energy and spirit. If we don't start implementing more culture, not just, like I said, for African American children, but for children of Asian backgrounds, children of Latino backgrounds, we're going to continue to see the degrading in regards to what's happening with, what we call the minorities in America, which if we actually did educate children of color, we would never be called minorities, because we would know that's actually an oxymoron. So, thank you.
Our moderator, a big hand. Did he do an exceptionally well job? I thought he was in charge. All right. Okay. Thank you. What I like about this is that if we don't know each other's culture, I had one person who was offended by the talk about culture, and she said, "Why can't we just all be people?" I said, "Wouldn't that be boring if we were all just people?" I said, "Look at the flowers. God made roses and daisies and tulips. And aren't they all beautiful, but they're all different? They all have different smells. So why, as a people, do we need to cover up who we are, where we came from, and where we belong, instead of embracing the culture? Isn't it something to see the way different people dance and create and live, and you'll see their hereditary clothing and stuff like that? Isn't that great? It's great for me. So we need to keep embracing that. And I want to give Pastor Stone just a chance to say a word. He worked all night. He should be able to say something, huh? But this little plaque right here, if you girls can help me with this, you read better than me.
Oh, you want to read it? I can read it.
She talks all the time. She does. She drives me crazy.
Okay, this actual excerpt here is from the Black Imperative. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. It actually has it down here somewhere. Yeah, but I'll read it. It's actually called America's Long History of 100% Racial Quotas in Favor of Whites. You got it? It says now, for 300 years, the American colonies, the states, and the federal government allotted untold billions of dollars of public wealth exclusively to the members, basically exclusive to members of the white race. There's actually a speech by Martin Luther King about this, where he talks about it. It's not one of his speeches that they talk about, but he talks about this particular thing here in regards to before he was going to Washington, D.C. He has a speech about why he's going to Washington, D.C., and it has to do with this here. In 1675, Massachusetts Bay Colony cedes plantation rights in 6 square mile tracts to worthy individuals. The population of the colony included black slaves as well as free blacks. Neither were treated as worthy individuals eligible for the land grants. In 1683, Maryland and Virginia established 50-acre land grants to settlers who pay their own way across the Atlantic. Blacks were given a free ride in slave ships and thus were not eligible for grants. In 1785, the federal ordinance of 1785 authorized the sale of 640-acre tracts to settlers for $1 per acre. As slaves, blacks were legally prohibited from owning property. 1800, the federal government establishes liberal credit privileges in the Western Territories for buyers of public land at a price of $1 an acre. Slaves not eligible and free blacks generally considered uncreditworthy. 1830, the Federal Preemption Act grants land settlers rights to purchase up to 160 acres, each at $1.25 per acre. The vast majority of blacks are still slaves and ineligible to own property. No evidence of significant participation by free blacks. 1850, the beginning of the massive federal land grant program for private railroad companies. Outright awards of 130 million acres frequently include property for 20 miles on either side of the roadbeds. These lands later found to contain billions of dollars of petroleum and mineral reserves. Black businessmen never considered qualified to acquire, finance, or operate railroad franchises. Oh, let me also interject that at this time, if you were of Latin heritage, you were also considered a Negro. So this also applied to Negroes and Native Americans. In 1862, the Homestead Act grants settlers 160-acre land tracts of federal land without charge. Over 250 acres of public lands transferred almost exclusively to whites in the most important land grant program in American history. Negro claimants blocked by lynch mobs, intimidation, and refusals of local authorities to protect their claims. 1889, in the celebrated Oklahoma land rush, 150 white settlers scrambled to claim the choicest land. Savage lynchings by the Ku Klux Klan, terrorism, and Jim Crow legislation kept Negroes basically out. Later, the heirs and successors of white settlers were to basically cover billions of dollars of petroleum resources on these lands. So basically, their heirs later discovered petroleum and made billions of dollars off of it. 1920, the Mineral Leasing Act authorizes the federal government to lease public land for the exploitation of oil or exploration of oil, gas, and other minerals. Affluent Negroes need not apply. Race discrimination in public awards was the established policy of the federal government in the 1920s. 1926, the Federal Air Commerce Act authorizes the granting of monopoly air routes to qualified aviators. The nation's airlines are born. 20,000 white pilots learned their trade in the rigidly segregated World War I Army Air Corps, ensuring that the ownership of commercial aviation would be white. The Federal Radio Act authorizes the award of radio station broadcast franchises to private citizens. Under settled policy of the federal government, no grants were made to Negroes. Radio broadcast licenses, currently valued in the billions of dollars, are now held almost exclusively by whites. I believe African Americans are 10% of the radio industry right now, or less than 10%. The Federal Communications Commission issues the first licenses for television broadcast stations. No grants made to Negroes until awards of the late 1970s. They actually called them token awards. In 1980, all major television franchises valued at $5 billion to $10 billion held exclusively by whites. In 1941, government contracting becomes a major factor in the sales revenue and profits of private enterprises. Race discrimination in government contract awards becomes the official policy of the United States government. During the years 1941 to 1980, approximately $3 trillion in contract awards were made almost exclusively to white-owned firms. So basically, when people say that that we've had a fair share, or that, oh, okay, you can put it down. When they say that African Americans have had a fair share, why are you complaining, that kind of thing. There have been discriminatory practices, even practiced by our own government, up until the last year in the 1980s.
Realize that this is really some tough stuff, and it's not being done to make people feel bad. It's being done so that we can, just realize that there are certain things that happen that are still happening. And if we don't know about it, if we never talk about it, it will continue to happen. So I just appreciate everybody in this room for being here and for letting everyone have a voice and a say, and to bring out, I know that we haven't uncovered a lot of things that still need to be uncovered. And after this, I don't want anybody having any excuses, because there's going to be haters, there's going to be people that feel like, let bygones be bygones and all that kind of stuff. But this should be the beginning of us really, as Kathy said, start reaching out across all of the stuff that's going on to support each project and concern and person that in our community that is hurting and that is being overlooked, underachieved, overachieved. Oh, there's some overachievers. Do we have any PhDs in this room? Nobody raised their hand. Okay.
Somebody left already.
I guess we're safe, huh? Huh?
We have PhDs, not PhDs.
Okay. I'm not saying don't get your PhD, but don't do like some of the people that I know within certain these agencies that get their PhDs and forget that they're human beings and how to interact with people on the ground and in their communities. Because I have brought it up, you know me. I brought it up to this one guy, and he said, "Oh, I'm not offended. My 16-year-old son told me that." So that's why we have you all here, so you can educate us on how to communicate. Right. So I think that this is great. Here you go. See, you got to take the microphone away from me. Oh, he's got one.
I got a mic.
Okay, we're going to let Pastor Stone speak, but after he speaks, we are going to do a raffle, and the way that we're going to do the raffle... Okay, so I'll give you the information on the raffle in a second.
All right, it's not going to be long, but I just want to thank God for this day, but I want to let you know that God is the head of my life.
All right?
He's not just the head of my life, He is my life.
Well,
I want y'all to know that right up front. Because when I was a young man, I grew up in the north side of Chicago, Cabrini Green. I don't know if you know about Cabrini Green now, but it doesn't exist today. But back then, it was 1 square mile area, 50 buildings, 50 feet tall, 20 apartments on each floor. All concrete brick built. All the apartments were 3 bedrooms. There were 120,000 people in one building. Can you imagine that? 120,000. And everybody's on a concrete village, 10 buildings. And they're all African American. So you can just imagine every day. Every day going through that. I was a young man. Yeah, I was in a gang, Blackstone Rangers, Disciples, you name it, right there. Because you couldn't get out of it. But the kids today don't know how good they have it. They just don't know. The little projects in Seaside, you know, they're like a country club, you know, 3-story, you know, maybe 30 apartments or something. But some understandings. But God brought me out of that. I've had maybe 1,500 friends die when I was a young man. Yeah, shot between each other, gangs, police, you name it. So just, you know, you never know your destiny, just keep living. But you have to have a goal in mind. You can't just live to live. You have to have a purpose. So find your purpose. You know, everybody has a purpose in life. I'm thank God that He gave me this woman here, or I would be lost. Because I knew of the Lord, but I wasn't running with the Lord like somebody else I know. Amen, like that. But no man is not. You know, you need your brother to help you along the way. Don't be prideful. You know, everybody got pride, but don't be prideful. Because it's okay. Everybody needs help. Praise God. I remember the brother when he ran for mayor. You only remember them years ago, didn't you?
Oh boy. But the Holy Spirit told me to do it.
Yeah.
And you told Sylvia too. See, she sat after, so I go, Sylvia, you had your numbers and my numbers. The Holy Spirit don't lie.
That's
You
right.
had to do it for a purpose.
For that journey.
Yeah.
That's the journey. So whatever journey you're on, keep going. Keep your dream. Help somebody else get their dream.
Yes.
You know, because you know, they talk to you all the time. Everybody talks to you. And they know, you know what they want. And some people are just too ashamed or not go get it to go out and do it. But just help them out. That's about all I want to say, but God is good anyway.
Amen.
Give him a hand clap of praise. So it sounds like to me he's asking for help. You know how men are, they go down the phone. Isn't that right, Brother Dean? They don't really like to come right out and ask for help. But thank you so much, and thank you to the mayor, the supervisor, my friend and sister here, Commissioner Linda Richardson, I can't pronounce the middle name, and my sister Nazareth back there with the health department, did a really wonderful job, and Minister Dan, and all you guys. I mean, it's just too much to. And you, who is that? Brother Reed over there? I call him Brother Reed. Must be a reason. He's in trouble. He's an only attorney. Well, there's another one with the homeless boys. But he's been trying to get away. How many know he ain't gonna get away? How many know he ain't gonna get away?
Oh, he ain't getting away.
He ain't getting away. You heard that? Can't get away. And the brother over there to talk about small business development, and he's getting away? No. Because I had to go all the way to LA and all parts of California to look for these folks. Now here they are, ending up in my community. Isn't that something? You ain't getting away. Okay. Yes, you got work to do. And my friend Don over there, he just cause he live way out in Salinas, he think he getting away. He ain't getting away. And my new friend Wes back there, he know he ain't getting away. Okay. And my new friend Kathy, oh, she ain't getting away. Kathy just tell it like it is. Who? Santa Claus. Who is Santa Claus?
Oh, that one?
Santa Claus, come here. Come here. This is my new best friend. Now, who don't like Santa Claus? I saw this man the minute I saw him, I said, it's Santa Claus. This is Santa Claus right here. What's Santa Claus say?
Yeah, it's, actually, a lot of people in Salinas know me more for being Santa Claus. I've been known as Santa Claus for years down there in Salinas. But anyway, I came to Salinas. I'll say a little bit of word about what I've been trying to do down there, and I was kind of like incorporated in.
What's your name?
Yes.
Your name?
Van Gresham. Yeah. So anyway, I came to Chinatown, and I got involved trying to start a workers' cooperative. I mean, there's a lot more to do than languish around poverty when you're poor, and we always. The people that I was working with thought it'd be nice to have something for people to actively engage themselves with and do something other than just sitting around waiting for a meal. And we started what we called the Peter Morin Work Cooperative, which was basically a man who hung around with Dorothy Day at the time. And he's also helped found the Catholic Portrait movement. Matter of fact, Dorothy Day would say that she probably wouldn't have even been successful without this Peter Morin. Peter Morin also thought that if people had an opportunity to get together and pool their efforts and work together, that they could actually alleviate their own poverty with their own efforts. And certainly if no one was taking advantage of them, that they'd have a whole lot better chance. I think that he was probably looking out for corporate America taking advantage of the little worker. However, when I came into Chinatown, I found out that the corporate workers only wanted to help you succeed. The ones that were in business to provide services for you is the ones you got to watch out for. And so, anyway, yeah, I ran into one trouble after another, but I also founded a little newspaper, co-founded with some of the people down in the Chinatown area called Voices of the Street. I've got a couple of copies over there left. I'd like to, some of you have gotten your copy, but certainly I'd want to make one available for anyone who wants one. And we've been going on for 5 years now under the same line of providing something for homeless people to do. And certainly I think that the homeless voice deserves to be heard. It's a unique platform, and it's typically comes from an area that nobody wants to hear from. So we have our little Voices of the Street paper that we've been going into the 5th calendar year, and we've been teaching journalism and education and writing skills and media skills, and we put this little thing together with a little bit of help first from Community Artists, who we're under with now, but we also have been working with artists from Monterey County, and it's basically journalism skills and writing, and fits right in with art and poetry and such things. And we also sponsor books, featuring homeless writers. And so from there, it's kind of like kind of a natural progression to get into this homeless Monterey County homeless union, and that's what we're doing now. And when I came into the area, I basically came in with my own motorhome under my own power. And I certainly had plenty of my own wealth at the time too, but the more I've seen to work in the language of the neighborhood, the more it seems like I'm going to be the one that ends up in poverty. And next thing you know, right after we came out through the first day of spring or whatever, basically I was bragging to the mayor about how, look at this little homeless camp we've got here now. This is something quite unique. And that we actually put tents down for people who need a place to stay at night. Almost all of them are signed up for whatever services are available, which there are none. So Wes comes each night, drops the tent off, and then in the morning he comes back, picks it up with his blankets and stuff, and that way we're not encumbered and burdened by having to carry all this stuff around with us all day, which is a tremendous service. And thank God he did it, because as soon as I said something great about how well of a job he was doing, I found my motor home jerked out from under me, no warning, no anything. They just came in the middle of it, just came in the day. Now, I was there more than 3 days, but, or maybe I didn't move 100 and so many feet, but there was nowhere to go, and it was totally by surprise and totally out of the thing. But thank God it was there at the time. Now, I thought that we'd have hundreds of people parked under the flagpole here at City Hall. And certainly I would want to encourage any of you to come by and kick it with us and talk with us. But we're at absolute capacity. I mean, if you, Wes, and just the effort that he had to put into unloading that van just so we could come down and participate with you guys today, was like above and beyond the Call of Duty too, because that thing is packed. And we need more people with vans, and we need some financial support. We need to get with the churches, which typically have turned a deaf ear or just don't realize how important it is to have some kind of rest in the evening. And I think we've got it so much better than everybody else. Like you mentioned, Santa Cruz, you can't, it gets long to sleep. But it's rough, even as good as it is. But I mean, it's a far cry from being criminal to sleep. Now, there's a couple of things coming up that's going to be important. A lot of people have been harassed through these sweeps, one right after the other. We pushed back. We went to federal court and tried to push back on the rights to keep our property and stay in Chinatown. And to me, it made perfect sense that we had our own, that the poor be given their own place, because to spread them all around doesn't seem to be that effective either in the U.S. So come August the 3rd, there's going to be the courts. Almost everybody that was cited is going to be going before the judge on August the 3rd. And we want to have to make a little showing there at the courthouse too, to show support for the ones that have gotten cited for tents and things like that. And certainly, I want to thank you all for everything you've done here. Certainly, don't forget to pick up a paper. I'll certainly sell you one if I could. So anyway, just thank you ever so much, and get the word out to the churches. Some of the churches you go to say, hey, can this church support a couple of tents? Can we maybe get a little trailer or something to help carry this stuff around? Anybody got an extra vehicle or a car? Or hey, can you just come down with a bowl of chili and some beans every now and then? There's about 20, last night I think we had 22 tents. We're at capacity. There's nowhere else to put up a tent in City Hall, and there's no one else to take us anywhere else. But the need is great, and they're out there, and a lot of people would like to come and share. And I'd like to eventually to show that we do such a good job of cleaning up, such a good job of keeping those papers and cigarette butts and low impact, and it's no police involvement, no troubles in the nature that causes the city. And if we could just get the city to give us some maybe temporary license to have a little tent city that we can regulate for ourselves and for ourselves and by ourselves, it would greatly lessen the amount of monies that they would have to spend on the programs. I don't mind that the city spends money, but the cheapest way to do it is to have the people themselves help regulate themselves. It means more to them that way, and I think it's more cost efficient for the dollar. And so anyway, you gotta do what you can, and hope for us one day to have a little place where we can set up a tent, hopefully before next winter, because this is going to be really rough. It's really nice.
Well, thank you, Van. We got some stuff to work on, folks.
Well, you think Santa, it's going to get cold by Christmas.
Yes, we got some things to work on, and we might have to go knock on some doors in Pebble Beach. We wouldn't get in, because it's a gated community. Well, but we'll have to do something, and we'll go one step at a time. We're going to form these focus groups, and I know some people right here, right now, I can see them. they got some visions about, oh, what we can do. I know they do. Okay, well, we're gonna do this little thing right here, because she bought some peanuts or something she wanted to raffle.
It's not peanuts. Okay, so we have a raffle.